If you've ever sent a message and then spent the next 2 hours analyzing why they haven't replied yet, you already know what this video is about. Not the kind of overthinking where you're just stressed about something real. The other kind, the quiet kind, the kind that runs in the background of your mind like a program you never opened but can never fully close. Today we're going into that place, not to fix it, but to understand what it's actually telling you about yourself. Here's what overthinking looks like from the outside. Someone cancels plans, and you spend the evening replaying every conversation from the past 2 weeks trying to figure out what you did wrong. Your boss gives you feedback, and instead of hearing the feedback, you're already 3 steps ahead, building a case for why you might be getting fired. You make a decision, a simple one, and then immediately begin constructing an argument for why it was probably the wrong one. From the outside, it looks like anxiety. It looks like being a worrier. People tell you to relax, to stop overthinking, to just let it go. But here's what they don't see. Overthinking is not a thinking problem. It is a safety behavior. Your brain is not broken. It's actually doing exactly what it was trained to do. At some point in your past, uncertainty was dangerous. Maybe it was a home where you never knew what mood you'd walk into. Maybe it was a friendship where things were fine one day and completely different the next. Maybe it was a relationship where love felt conditional, where the rules kept changing without anyone telling you. In environments like that, your brain learned something important. If I can just think far enough ahead, I can protect myself. If I can predict what they're feeling, I won't be caught off guard. If I can see the problem before it arrives, I can survive it. Overthinking was never about being anxious. It was about being prepared. It was a form of control in situations where you had very little of it. And here's where it gets interesting. The mind that learned to overthink did not learn it randomly. It learned it because at some point, uncertainty hurt. Being blindsided by someone's anger hurt. Being surprised by rejection hurt. Not seeing it coming made it worse, so your brain made a deal with you. Never again. I will think of every possible outcome. I will run every scenario. I will prepare you for everything so that nothing can ever surprise you the way it did before. And for a long time, that deal felt protective. The problem is, the threat is gone, but the behavior stayed. This is what psychologists call a conditioned response pattern. The original situation that required hypervigilance no longer exists, but your nervous system doesn't know that yet. It's still operating on old information, still running the same program in a completely different environment. So you overthink a text message the same way you once had to carefully read a parent's mood before entering a room. You overthink a work email the same way you once had to choose your words perfectly to avoid an argument. You overthink someone's silence the same way you once had to figure out what you did wrong before anyone told you. The behavior looks irrational from the outside, but from the inside, it has always made complete sense. That's not weakness. That's survival. That was you adapting to a world that required it. But here is the layer most people miss. Overthinking is not just about predicting outcomes. It's about identity. People who overthink often carry a deep, quiet belief that if something goes wrong, it is probably because of them. Not always consciously, but underneath the mental noise, there is usually a version of this thought running quietly in the background. If they're upset, I probably caused it. If this didn't work out, I probably should have done something differently. If things feel uncertain, I need to figure out what I'm missing. The loop is not random. It has a direction. It almost always loops back to you, and that loop is the real pattern. It's not about the text message. It was never about the text message. It's about a part of you that learned very early that you were responsible for keeping things stable, for reading the room, for making sure everyone was okay, for preventing things from falling apart. That part of you became very good at its job, and now it applies that job everywhere, to relationships that are actually fine, to situations that don't require that level of monitoring, to a world that is far safer than the one that originally created this pattern. Once you see that, the overthinking starts to look different. It's not a character flaw. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a very old part of you, still doing a job it was assigned years ago, still watching, still preparing, still trying to protect you. And that awareness alone shifts something. Not because awareness fixes everything. It doesn't. But because when you understand where the behavior came from, you stop fighting it the way you used to. You stop telling yourself to just relax. You stop being frustrated that your brain won't quiet down. You start to recognize the loop for what it is, an old pattern running in a new situation. And the moment you can see a pattern clearly, you are no longer inside it in the same way. Overthinking was never random. It had a reason. It had a root. It had a logic that made complete sense given what you were navigating at the time. And understanding that is not a small thing, because most people spend years trying to stop the thoughts without ever asking where the thoughts came from. If this explains something you felt but never been able to name, that recognition is the beginning of something. Not fixing, not changing, just seeing yourself more clearly than you did before. And that changes more than you think.